And with that, please welcome the magnificent Gracie Abrams.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here, Gracie. We know boy, you're working on a really tight timeline, so it's great to have you here.
No, I'm really grateful to be here. I'm excited. Thank you.
Thanks. So much has happened in such a short period of time, and you know, I ask a lot of artists, especially those that have been in the business for quite some time. During the successful run, are you able to process it all, soak it all in, or does it all seem like a blur to you?
I think yes to the soaking it in bit. I feel I mean, kind of yes to both. I feel just I'm constantly sort of shocked by everything, and I feel like that wave of shock it does kind of like get to me in a very deep way. And it does feel like a crazy blur because it is bizarre to like look back on the past couple years, and to be able to talk to you today like this is really cool for me. So I feel deeply lucky, and just trying to be as present as possible with everything because I think it makes it easier to retain all the noise.
Yeah, well, I absolutely encourage you to try to do everything you can to soak it in,
Thank
because
you.
most artists say, "Boy, I wish I could go back and try to live in the moment." So good for you. I understand it's a cornucopia of all these emotions and sensations, and you're working around the clock too. People think when you're on the road, you just go up there for your set and that's it, and you just lay around for the rest of the day. No, you're doing things like this in between and trying to get some rest if that's at all possible. But hey, let me say congratulations on the success of the album. And now it receives a second life, if you will, with the deluxe release and finally on vinyl. So how does that feel?
I'm so excited for the vinyl to be out there. I do love tangible things, and I feel like I don't know, in my mind, like vinyl lasts forever, and I think to have this particular album and the kind of like process that Aaron Dessner and I went through to make it, and what it represents about kind of our friendship beyond just the album. It means a lot to me to have something that I can physically hold on to, and it was also really challenging for us to stop adding songs to the track list because we were making so much music at the time that
Yeah.
we had to be realistic about it, but to throw a few more on the album that exist within the world of Good Riddance is selfishly, I'm just really grateful that we get to squeeze a few more on there. And
Well,
yeah,
selfishly as a fan, I mean, they're exceptionally strong. We'll talk about those. It doesn't feel like they're filler tracks in some cases. You have artists that may add tracks, they were extra tracks, but there was a reason they didn't make it, and in your case, I think, well, the songwriting, the material is just so strong. But I wanted to ask you, what's your inspiration for the album? I mean, the lyrics appear to be really deeply personal, and found it interesting also that, as I understand, you basically created an isolated environment to influence and drive the process of creating the material in the album, if I have that right.
yeah, no, that's totally accurate. It was a very I mean, Long Pond, which is Aaron's studio, it feels very much like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like a piece that I found in that isolation, and I think a particular kind of focus that allowed for the songs to be as kind of stream of consciousness as they are, which for me was kind of just deeply transformative. I think as I was going through lots of transitions in my personal life, and also just kind of beginning to like grow up a little bit. I feel like being in my early 20s, it's like week to week things vary so drastically, and to find such a safe space that Aaron has so intentionally kind of curated since he created the studio. It was a really it was like this incubator for these feelings to just breathe as they needed to, and so the album itself is kind of about leaving behind versions of yourself that you stop recognizing. I felt like when that happens and you are in relationships with people of any sort, it's like there's just lots of change that can happen as you kind of begin to figure yourself out. I'm very aware. I think I'm kind of just at the beginning stages of getting to know myself, but I do feel like, and I've talked about it with friends of mine that are, you know, my age as well, that kind of feel like maybe at this point, this is kind of like the foundation for who we are as adults in the world.
Right.
And there will be obviously layers and layers of change and all these, major life events that have yet to happen that influence that. But I do feel kind of like through the process of making the album, I did get to know myself better in a way that has, I think, positively influenced the way that I am among other people, which I hope to just be able to show up as my best self. And I think this album, there's a lot of kind of accountability that came through in the songs that I had yet kind of had not been able to access or wasn't willing to look at before.
Well, I have to say, needless to say, I have a few more years on you, and you're wise beyond your years. I mean, really astute observation. And, this record connects with so many people. I found it interesting, too. You also cite Joni Mitchell, which is, boy, that's a pretty high bar, as a major influence. And there's other great artists that were influenced by her, too. Brandi Carlile is one that comes to mind, for example. Can you tell us how she touches you? And also, there was also a question about what's your road music? Are you listening to anything, whether it's vintage music, classic, if you will, or newer contemporary artists that you connect with, or do you need to decompress and just shut down in terms of listening to music?
No, yeah, well, the first half of Joni was always playing in the house when I was growing up.
Yeah,
Both of my parents, of course, as everyone I think who lives and breathes that like loves her deeply. And I remember just being really little, and I had started caring about journaling at this point when I was very young in elementary school
right.
because of school projects. But I was writing every day, kind of for the first time, and as I started to write down my feelings, I began to pay attention to what Joni's words actually were instead of just hearing it in the background. I was like actively listening, and I felt really moved and also really like weirdly afraid too, because I felt aware of how tiny and young I was and how kind of like developed and thoughtful and kind of like mature her writing and her career was. I was like, whoa. And I at that point I had absolutely no intention or like dream to become a recording artist or performer in any capacity. I was just like, as a writer,
Right.
whether that's for journaling for myself only for the rest of my life, or screenplays, or actual plays, or whatever it is,
Something
songs.
creative.
I was just like, I loved to feel through my writing, and I became just kind of addicted to her music. And um that's only ever like become a stronger feeling inside me, my admiration for her and her work.
And
So
Gracie, how old did you say you were, or how old would you estimate you were when you started to really pay attention?
8. I was
Eight.
8.
That's amazing.
I think it's undeniable. I feel like everyone who, like, it's funny to mention it in conversations like this, because then you're like, oh, and that marks it. But I feel like for everyone who knows her music, it's like, I don't think I'm unique in that experience to be like, holy shit, Joni Mitchell. It's like everyone's like,
Right.
what the fuck? Like, how?
Right.
But I do feel very lucky to have been around her music when I was young. I listened to her all the time on the road. I did find myself listening to a lot of like ambient music while on the bus after shows, like a lot of Brian Eno,
Well,
because that helped my brain chill out a bit. And I listened to a lot of Brian Eno when we were recording Good Riddance, actually, because I felt kind of tied to that isolation aspect of the recording process, to listen to music that was a bit void of like vocal melody or lyrics helped,
yeah,
I think.
atmospheric.
Yeah, yeah. I've been obsessed with Ethel Cain. Love Ethel Cain and C Rose, who is an unreal writer, artist.
Yeah.
He's coming out with us on our fall Europe UK leg of tour.
Oh,
And
that's
I'm
great.
so excited. Like I selfishly, I just like I've been listening to his music for a while. Like I feel like I was one of the many that found his videos on TikTok and then just like got really deep into the songs on streaming services and everything. And so I can't wait to hear him every night on tour. I'm so excited.
How exciting. Yeah, for sure. And again, as far as like, your downtime on the road, are you listening to anything or are you decompressing?
Both. I'm kind of writing a bunch right now. So I've been listening kind of mostly in my spare time to some tracks and things that I'm working through.
We like the sound of that better than listening to someone else's music. That's good news for all the
I'm
fans.
excited. I think especially being on the Eras tour right now, there's something that's so I mean everything about it is so rare and unique to the scale and the magnitude of what this is. But Taylor has been my favorite artist for my whole life, and the fact that I am somehow able to watch her show at least once a week is like does something I think to the like core of my soul that has been motivating me to write more because it obviously deeply broadens your imagination and kind of your dreams and my like capacity for imagining future sounding like projects or the scale of a show or whatever. I definitely have found myself recently physically like itching to make more and obviously we've been on the road the whole year, so it's also tough to find time to get in the studio. So in the meantime, I'm just like back to writing as much as I possibly can.
That's great news. This is like your fertile creative period.
Yeah,
I highly
totally.
encourage you need to have a life too, of course. A little difficult to do
Well,
that, but
it's like I do feel like it's such a weird it's like a job, but it's like this is what I would be doing in my free time
yeah,
regardless of what it is I do with my like hour. I just yeah. So anyway,
I get it. You
yeah,
have to. It comes to you. You have to let
I
it out.
can't not yeah.
That's right. And there's no truth to the rumor that Taylor's now upset because you're commanding so much attention on the stage. I'm kidding. I said there would be like no TMZ moments,
I'm
but
like, please no.
no, it's totally
No,
went off the
no one
rails
is
on that,
more supportive. Like I actually can't
of course.
totally put it into words.
She's awesome. Yeah.
She's the best friend and the best role model, and it's like very, very wild to um get any words of encouragement ever. You're just like, damn, thank you. Just
Both of you are a great fit. So share with us your touring experience. You had your sold out tour and then you're picking it back up over a season of fall, which is amazing. And then morphed right into touring with Taylor. And what's that sensation? I always like asking artists when you stand on stage and tens of thousands are singing your lyrics right back to you, with such conviction and passion. It's got to be like an out of body experience for you.
it's all crazy, and I think kind of especially when the stadium is the size that it is and there are as many people as there are. What I have felt the most moved by um throughout kind of like every moment of the tour, yes, while I'm lucky enough to play, but also just in the like when people are filing in and meeting strangers and exchanging friendship bracelets and watching Taylor in like such awe. It's like there are these very formative experiences. Every single one of these shows is something that like I know for a fact everyone who attends will remember for the rest of their lives. And
Right.
I do feel like especially over the past couple of years, but just in general, like we're all in need of kind of a reminder of the importance of that kind of connection and um to be in a space that large that is like genuinely it feels like such a safe space for everyone to come as they are and
So true.
dance together and sing together and cry together. And like I've seen people be proposed to, I've seen like best friends have like the most epic kind of like reunion. It's like it's multi-generational. It's like there's just no kind of limit to the amount of like joy and nostalgia and like um just it just feel it's like the most human. It just feels so important. And yes, it's like definitely trippy when someone knows a single word to any of my songs, but it's I'm mostly overwhelmed by the opportunity to just watch people
Yeah.
go through something that's so formative and that represents so much emotionally. Because I think I can only speak for myself and the tens of hundreds of thousands of people that I've been around now throughout the past few months on this tour, but it's
Right.
like her songs soundtrack our lives in so many instances. And so
Right.
to like get to experience so much of that in one night is overwhelming, and it's like it's just magical. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what.
That's yeah, great insight, and it is really important what you're doing, especially now the climate out there so contentious, right? Whether we're talking about religious convictions or even political or whatever, everybody comes into that stadium, and it's just a common thread, and you and Taylor are driving that. Everyone's one, them, as you said, they're themselves. They can be themselves and all coexist, and it is such an important function that you provide, as an artist, bringing a lot of people together. So I think you're spot on.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I think I'm grateful to her fans for indulging us while we all wait for her to come on. But it is it's they're the most wonderful people, so it's
Yeah. Well, I think it's a testament to your talent and your material too. Your songs resonate with that group. Trust me, I've been in some stadiums where opening acts, unfortunately, were treated so kindly. And I'm not
yeah.
saying they weren't good artists, but you
That's
know,
so tough, man. It's
it
a
is tough.
not an easy. It's just yeah. Anyway, I feel for anyone ever who gets on a stage in front of any number of people. It can be weird.
That happened. I'm just saying, just to give you a point of reference.
Yeah.
And I got to ask you, last question on the touring and the live performance aspect of it. Before you go on stage, do you find you have this bottled up nervous energy, even though you've been doing it for some time? Boy, am I going to be able to get through this? Am I going to connect with people? And then you go on stage and it's like somebody flicks a switch and you're just in that zone. Is that the sensation that you go through?
Often, yes. I think it's funny because uh the it's a lucky thing. Well, sometimes it's weird because you're like singing songs that are if you write them are emotional and hold a certain significance. But as soon they kind of all it's like they serve as places to just like channel your feelings or your energy or whatever, and that is often the way that it goes. But it's all like as soon as I'm up there and I'm singing with any number of people, it doesn't feel like it's about my feelings anymore. It's just like, oh, this is a universal experience.
That's right.
These feelings are not about me, and it takes you out of the like. I feel like sometimes nervous anxiety for me just comes from a like, how am I going to be perceived? Am I gonna? It's almost like just like an inch of like narcissism that as soon as you realize how much of a speck you are, it disintegrates, and that's the best thing. And it's obviously, when you're in a stadium and it's such a giant environment, like it does
Yeah.
make it easier to just be like, oh, this
Yeah.
is nothing to do with me anymore. I'm lucky to like sing into a microphone about it, but you know. So yes, the nervous energy gets channeled, but it's a great place to do it.
We have a few questions from fans. What has been your favorite song to perform on the Eras tour, if there's been one?
Um, totally. Well, we recently added a song that I love from Good Riddance called I Should Hate You to
Yeah,
the set list, which has been so
great
much fun.
track.
Yeah, thank you. It's been so fun to play, and so that's been like a real joy. But 21, uh, which is an older song, there's like a call and response bit that to hear in a stadium has been
Mind blowing, right?
nuts. Just yeah, shocking.
Here's another question from a fan too. What was it like collaborating with Aaron Dessner and yeah, on her album. And I know he was instrumental in shaping the songs. And so we should talk about him a little bit because you had to open up completely, right? I mean, and gain his trust
Yeah, I
to
mean,
kind of become one.
I could literally talk about him for the rest of my life. He's just he really is the greatest listener I've ever met. Which I think allows for so much understanding just
Yeah,
between people regardless of their background and he and I kind of just immediately connected. I felt very instantly comfortable. That being said, like it obviously it normally it was a weird thing because normally it takes a second. I was always writing kind of by myself most of the time because I was very reluctant to meet a stranger and have a like I had very much leaned super introverted forever.
yeah. It's
And I think
personal, right?
yeah, I mean it's so weird. It's like hi,
Yeah,
nice to meet you. I'm gonna tell you about all of my like trauma. Um but he was like the perfect partner in unraveling lots of these um, feelings with, and I think his instincts as an artist and a producer and a writer, he's like there's like a real sensitivity to his work that I think is felt. There's like a kind of common thread in everything he's ever touched that like if I hear a song I could tell you whether or not that was an Aaron song or like I can just
yeah,
feel it. And his instincts are so kind of radically different from what mine would be, except for that they kind of meshed together in this way that allowed for us to both be really excited every day, kind of by like what could come. And we worked at such a pace together too that like there's just so much room for things to happen. And anytime he would start playing, like even if it was 4 seconds on guitar or piano or something, it's like no matter what, I could always hear something over what he'd play, and so we'd kind
it
of go down
triggers
the
it.
rabbit
Yeah,
hole. Um, so working with him is such a crazy joy, and he also like it was so outside of the like pop world that I felt I was kind of like afraid of or uncomfortable with in LA. I started feeling just a little bit like everyone here is so good at what they do. Like, why do I feel a little bit like I shouldn't be in this room right now? Not even because of like, not because of skill level, just like I don't feel like what I want to bring to the table is aligned with
right.
maybe other
To
people
lump in with that
or like
whole
yeah,
movement.
or like I love writing 10 verses. Like I want to write 10 verses and not
Yeah,
be told that like that's not a pop structure, which
yeah,
obviously it's not, but like
yeah.
there was a kind of freedom and a flow that Aaron fostered in the sessions and obviously that has maintained in our friendship just outside of working together. He's one of my closest friends and I think also just because he is, you know, older than I am and has this like full life. I have also just been kind of like observing the way that he can do that while also having like a very beautiful, successful career. I think that it's like sometimes there's this weird misconception because it is hard that you have to like choose one thing. And I'm like very inspired by people that are able to be very close to the ones that they love, feel really like grounded and rooted in whatever it is that they call home while also, you know,
Yep.
making the music or whatever the art or whatever it is, whatever their career path is, like deeply kind of investing in that as well. And so it was a very life altering experience to meet him, and I could not have known that at the time, except for I've always been his biggest fan. Like I've loved I
Yeah,
got in
he's
trouble in middle school for like
right.
listening to the National all the time, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah,
legend.
talent as an artist. I'm not surprised to hear any of this whatsoever, but you did touch on something I think is really important because he fostered, taking a little bit of a different approach lyrically and how that relates to songs. Your lyrics read as great prose without the music. as well. It really stands out. There's stories and it touches people. And you combine that with some amazing production and music that he's helped bring to the table. I think that's why you've had so much success with your debut album, without question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's true. Let's get to the bonus material because I know that the clock is ticking, and you're going to have to share yourself with another, several thousand group of fans, and you know, so we can't let them down for sure. But for the bonus material, um, all four of them are exceptionally strong songs, and it doesn't feel like you just slap those on there. I mean, they definitely flow, with the material on the standard release. But is there one track in particular that stands out? I know 405 is kind of a focus track right now. Is that the one that sticks out, or are there any?
Um, well, yeah, it's funny. Like I love them all, and I know I said it, but I just am excited that they get to be a part of the world and not just on our phones and computers.
Yeah,
But I was talking about it with someone recently. I had like a before the Chicago show, Era's show last week. I played this tiny in-store acoustic set, and I got a similar question, sort of, and I realized the song Two People is kind of a little bit like feels like a thesis of the album to me, sort
yeah,
of, which
yeah,
is that um people change all the time,
yeah.
and that can be awful and unpredictable and also necessary and uh, important and
I
like
mean, I have to tell you, I connected with that song. I think it's the last track on the Deluxe, and rightfully so, really connected.
I feel like it's like just that all things can be true at once and that change doesn't take away from the importance of a relationship and the quality of it, and but that it is also real, that like shit happens, and
Boy, so
so
true.
I do feel I'm excited for people to have that one.
So listen, I know the clock's ticking. Your relationship with your fans is extremely special. I mean, and so before we part company, and hopefully we'll have you back on. I mean, I can't believe it's been 30 minutes to just
I
phone
know.
by. You're amazing,
Oh.
and thanks for being so generous. But can you speak to that relationship with your fans and the bond that you developed online? Any message you want to leave with your fans for the show?
Yeah, I mean, I can't. It's really hard to put into words how much I value their existence beyond that of their generosity with their time and energy listening to the music, but also like the real community that they've built, that they've let me be a part of, has completely opened up my world. I think it's changed the way that I communicate with strangers. They've made me a more curious person. They've made me feel more willing to write without hesitation. I don't worry if I'm oversharing because they've confirmed every time now that whatever it is I'm going through, they've also felt the same. And they're such incredible artists and writers, and they're so smart. And I think for me to know that there are people like that who exist in all corners of
Yeah.
the world is really exciting, and it's kind of the greatest gift anyone's ever given me. So I just love them dearly, and I'm so excited for them to have the vinyl, and yeah, it's crazy the kind of support that I do really feel from them. It has only gotten stronger kind of really by the day, and yeah, I'm in their corner as much as they're in mine. So yeah, I'm the lucky one.
Well said. I can't think of a better note to end on other than, again, congratulations
Oh,
on
thank you.
your deluxe album now with the four additional tracks, and also vinyl finally coming to life for Good Riddance. Long time coming, so we're really excited about that. Continued success. I know we're going to be hearing about you for a long time to come, especially now that we know you're working on new material while we're
Yeah,
still
so excited.
enjoying the first album.
Oh man, I'm so stoked. But thank you so much, Steve. I'm so stoked that we got to talk, and thank you for your questions and your generosity for having me on. And hopefully, again soon. I would love that so much.
You have my pledge. Absolutely. Look forward to it, Gracie.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, you guys.
Thank you, Gracie.